YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and I'm back with some more online battle footage to show you. Except again, I want to start off with like just a little, I'm going to try and do some of these every now and then. We're just trying to give you a little bit of interesting tidbit about the game. Maybe you already know it, maybe you don't. So Swaby, I haven't gotten a chance to show you all in a while, and I'm not going to be showing them to you tonight. I don't have any good footage with them yet, but I just wanted to kind of show you, not too long ago, I got destroyed as Massilia by a line of wolf warriors, and I want to show you just how powerful the charge is on wolf warriors. Now, let me throw out a few caveats here in the meantime. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward until the enemy gets here. So yeah, a few caveats real quick. Wolf warriors are brutally deadly on the charge, especially with the Aria Vistas general abilities and with Frenzy Charge. Frenzy Charge has been changed to where it's much more powerful and much more useful. So wolf warriors are brutal, absolutely brutal on the charge. After the charge, against very heavy infantry like Romans, not so much because their armor is very low. But they do have good base morale and decent health. So the thing is, if you get the charge with these guys, they will destroy pretty much anything. And I mean just about anything. And I'm going to demonstrate it here by going up against some Royal Peltas. So I have 3 units of Royal Peltas, 3 units of Wolf Warriors for me. Now the AI is, of course, the AI, and it doesn't always cooperate. I use the fast charge ability, and I now have the bonus. So I'm going to go ahead and charge, and then I'm also going to activate Frenzy before I charge, which should increase my weapon damage and charge, or at least the charge bonus. I think it does both. Yeah, there my charge bonus is crazy good now. So 75 charge bonus if you're able to combine the two. Now this Royal Peltist actually just ate the charge, and just watch. Yeah, so they went down 40 men almost instantly. I just dropped, I'm about to drop Pride here in a minute, which increases their armor piercing damage. Both these Royal Peltists just absolutely got wrecked on the charge by Wolf Warriors, and Royal Peltists are very good units. Very good units. And again, I'm just doing this to demonstrate how strong they are. Now, again, I said I wanted to throw some caveats out here. Timing your Aria Vistas general ability isn't easy. Fortunately for you, though, the Frenzy to your charge bonus is pretty good in and of itself. As far as the timing goes, though, like I said, it can be difficult, and your enemy might just run away, so you kind of have to pop it at a very good moment, which is hard to use. Also, what most factions are going to do to you if you try this tactic is they're just going to put a meat shield unit in front of their good units, which means your charge will be wasted on them, and then they will move in while your units are busy, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. It's very hard to deflect that tactic. It's not to say it couldn't be done, but it is difficult. So in any case, that's what they'll do. But I mean, look at that. Unit of Royal Peltas gone already, which allowed me to outflank this other one. Head to head, these Royal Peltas are straight up losing. Now, of course, the longer that fight goes, the more it starts to even out for the Royal Peltas. But if you get a devastating enough charge, you're going to see a much cheaper unit like a Wolf Warrior destroy a Royal Peltast head on, which is impressive. It'll do the same thing to Evocati Cohort, too. It'll just absolutely wreck Evocati Cohort. So the thing is even if the Royal Peltast win that fight, which sometimes they will, based on circumstances, it's not usually cost-effective for them if you can get a decent charge, because they're only killing a 700 talent unit and basically losing all their men. So again, I'll bring more to you about the Swaby sometime soon, as soon as I'm able to get some good footage. But again, remember that people can counter those tactics. I'm just trying to show you that if you're successful, and my opponent the other day was successful. I tried to use my meat shields, but wasn't entirely successful with it. And you saw how quickly they were able to just absolutely chop through all of my Massilian hoplites and stuff. So anyway, that's why that happened the other day. And of course, just remember that sword units are probably a little harder for them to chop down than the hoplite units. So that also made an impact. Anyway, I'm going to show you a battle where I play as Cimmeria. Cimmeria, and however it's said. I always said Cimmeria, but you all are saying it's Cimmeria. So, and then I'm going to play against Armenia, and I had no idea what to expect in this battle. I about half expected my opponent to bring some axemen, because the fact that honestly the Cimmerians don't have access to great infantry. However, the Cimmerians do have access to extremely good skirmishers, and they have access to good horse skirmishers. So I'm running a noble horse archer general, and then 3 armored horse archer units as well. So, and then yeah, I've got, what is it, 3 of these? Yeah. So 4 Cimmerian heavy archers, Then my infantry corps is a couple of Scythian, or 4 Scythian hoplites, 2 Cimmerian nobles, and then I have 2 crappy citizen cav, and I'm supporting with 4 militia hoplites. I did not expect this army to go well against Armenia, but once I saw my opponent's build, I felt a little better about it, but still very much worried. So if you look at my opponent's build, he's gone skirmisher and cav heavy, which Armenia most certainly can do. But his problem is I don't have any heavy cavalry for his heavy cavalry to face off against, which in and of itself is going to make it a little more difficult to try and make his guys effective. So horse archers have an easy time really hurting super heavy cav, and I'm going to immediately go into heavy shot against his cataphracts, and he's kind of all blobbed up here, which is just going to give me more shots. Now, what I am worried about, and again, you all probably know about this, unless I get really, really good bracing, and I mean really good bracing, a super heavy unit like a cataphract can charge in, knock my men over, and then head through and kill my archers. Now, my archers are somewhat capable in melee against cavalry, and to be honest, if the cataphracts didn't get a good charge against my archers, they could help do some damage. But again, shock cavalry can kill Cimmerian heavy archers, even though they can kind of hold their own in a infantry fight. So again, I have lots of spearmen out here, but there's all kinds of little spots where my opponent could probably get through here and get at me, and I'm realizing this as the battle unfolds. And just, I'm worried that at any moment here that my archers are going to get smashed. And if they do, it's going to be very bad for me, because my opponent has 4 Eastern Slingers here, which could, over the long run, do a lot of damage to my men. Now, my opponent does come in for a charge on my militia hoplites here. I don't know that I was braced, so he gets a fair few kills, but he also used trample, which is going to make his men very tired. And then over here, his own horse archers were shredded by my heavily armored horse archers, so they weren't able to do him any good. And bringing armored horse archers is a risk. They're more expensive, but I just kind of had this gut feeling that if my opponent brought horse archers, he was going to bring unarmored ones. If he also had brought armored ones, then it's not as good for me. Or if you bring some really expensive armored horse archers and then they bring some units that are great at countering him, it can get tough. So this is exactly what my citizen cav were for, to absorb a charge, pin his guys down, and then notice I come in from behind with my horse archers on heavy shot, and I'm just going to unload into this cavalry fight and kill as many of his cav as I can, and then I'm just going to move some hoplites to keep trying to block his way to my archers. Now, if my opponent had split up his cav a little better and come around, I really don't think I could have defended these guys, and as you can see, he's already trying to get to him here. So honestly, I just don't know that my opponent was quite patient enough, because although his build isn't great for countering what I have here, he definitely has options to try and get to my men. So here I'm going to try and switch, bring him a hoplite instead of my archers, but again, if my opponent was ready, he could bring this cav over here, and then his slingers need to be ready to start taking shots right now. Actually, he's got 6 Eastern Slingers. So my opponent has a considerable, but he decides to come into this fight with the Scythian hoplites, which are already beating his general pretty bad. I mean, he is getting some charges here and there that are going to be damaging. This cataphracts, that's going to be a damaging charge, but again, this close to my Cimmerian heavy archers, and they just wrecked that Cappadocian cav. And then still from behind him, I'm wrecking his cav, and then he started chasing an armored horse archer with this mercenary Cappadocian, and it is on the AI skirmish, so it's going to be pretty bad. But these guys are so damaged that even if they catch my armored horse archer, they may not win that fight. So chasing light missile cav with heavy cav is just, it's really suicide, unless you have some kind of plan for how to actually make it work, and it's still risky. Because again, just look how quickly archers can lay waste to these type of units, and my Cimmerian heavy archers are not even in. Now here my opponent finally did what I wanted him to do, what I didn't want him to do. He hit my hoplites and then came through while they were on the ground, and you can see that he's going to actually get into all my Cimmerian heavies. And he is getting some decent kills here, but all of a sudden, I'm just going to tell my Cimmerian heavies to attack him. And so now the cataphracts are bogged down, their charge is over. They'll still get a few kills, but you're going to see this fight start to turn around, and just look at these guys get absolutely torn to shreds. Now again, had he had a nice big open clean charge, it absolutely would have killed those archers. This whole time his slingers could have been firing into this blob, but he was too far away. And it's just basically my opponent's making all the mistakes that I need him to here to help me win this. So I think when you look at both of our armies, and I'm trying to be self-honest here too, my build was not necessarily real good, and my defense of my archers was not real good. My opponent's build, honestly, I think had the capability to counter mine, but he wasn't able to use it properly. And again, my build obviously has the capability to counter his if he doesn't use it properly. But again, I don't think either one of our builds are particularly great. But then again, both of these factions can, well, more so Armenia can bring some very different builds. Armenia can come very foot skirmish heavy. They can come very horse skirmish heavy. They can bring decent infantry. They can bring cataphracts. They can bring noble blood cav, Cappadocia. I mean, they have a lot of options. So they are a faction that's maybe a little harder to guess. These armored horse archers, 66 kills. These guys back here, 40 kills, 72 kills, and then 27 on my general. The general with the fewest there. I still have quite a bit of ammo left on all my horse archers, though, and it's really been taking a toll on his units. So those Eastern Spearmen are not worthy targets. Here I decided to just kind of hold this cataphract still because I saw they had an open window to my archers. So I kind of just did a quick feint charge just to get their attention, and then I saw all of his slingers over here wide open for this, and that would make his cataphracts most likely chase my armored horsemen, and he's going to. So this is basically going to give me an opportunity now to start killing a bunch of his slingers. So this is what my opponent needed to do to me. Yet I was able to do it to him. And here again, see, I'm just going to block his Eastern Spearmen, and then I'm going to come back here and block this Eastern Spearmen. So it just keeps my my Cimmerian heavy archers safe, and now that his cavalry is basically gone, they can kind of roam the battlefield at will. And I've just let my infantry engage his Persian hoplites and other units. And again, now my horse archers here are going to get a lot of kills because they're into his slingers, and they have very decent melee stats, especially when they chevron up like these guys have. And then again, my general and other units, I should have already given charge orders here. So I'm obviously busy moving something else and screwing up my micromanagement out here. So honestly, again, I think the main reason this victory fell to me was because my opponent allowed it to happen. Again, I don't really think either of our builds was fantastic. If you think about what Cimmeria offers, from an infantry standpoint, there are a lot of spears, so bringing tons of Eastern cataphracts is probably not necessary, especially since Cimmeria has access to very terrible cavalry. He might have wanted to focus on bringing more cheap cavalry, maybe more horse skirmishers, and you know, maybe some axe infantry or something. Again, I'm not sure how they stack up against these hoplites. They probably wouldn't do so well against the nobles, but against the Scythian hoplites, they'd probably do just fine. His biggest challenge would be getting rid of Cimmerian heavy archers, but Eastern slingers are so much cheaper that you could at least harass them with Eastern slingers from one side, and then try and harass them with horse archers from another side. Now again, my having brought the armored horse archers would make that slightly more challenging for him, but there's probably ways you could get to it. Anyway, it's kind of an interesting matchup. I really am impressed with the killing power of the Cimmerian heavy archers. They are very good. They're also very expensive, and you have to be careful with them. I was very lucky that they got away alive in this. But again, you can see they can defend themselves whenever they get into a melee. Now, these guys still had a lot of ammo as well, lots of ammo. And you can see that even though they were caught in melee by horses, these two units came out relatively unscathed. Whereas his Eastern slingers, you saw how quickly they started dying to my armored horse archers, which would have been this unit here. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this one. It was kind of an interesting faction matchup. Let me know what you would think as far as how you might make a build for this. And again, I don't know all the options for Cimmeria, but let's pull them up here real quick. So Cimmeria, yeah, you don't have a whole lot of options because you really don't have any melee infantry. So infantry is always going to be spear, but I would expect that Cimmeria is usually going to become missile heavy, whether it's via horse or foot. One way or the other, they're probably coming missile heavy. As you can see, their cavalry is terrible, so you really wouldn't need cataphracts to handle cavalry. And so if you take a look at what Armenia has to offer, as far as other cavalry, this Persian cavalry might be a good selection, relatively cheap with a nice charge. And these noble blood cav, lots of staying power with a relatively cheap price tag. And it looks like he does have access to armored horse archers for 640. And my armored horse archers were 580, so that does give Cimmeria an edge there as far as being able to get away with cheaper horse archers and probably cheaper noble archers. Yes, they are. I wonder what the stat differences are. So 39, 34, 22, 90, 95. Interesting. 39, 34, 22, 90, 95. 49, 34, 16, 16, 40. Well, I may have been looking at the wrong unit. Let me clear all these and throw these out. Now I'm just curious. I guess I could go to that website, Hunger or whatever, that's got it all, but just take a look real quick. 49, 34, 16, 16, 40. 39, 34, 22. So these guys are much more heavily armored. Interesting. So it is a different unit. These guys have better attack. The other ones are much more heavily armored. 85 health, 60 morale. 95 health, 55 morale. So slightly higher morale on these guys, but with less, or hang on, maybe it was, yeah, higher on the Cimmerians, but you're basically getting a little more lasting power out of these Noble Horse Archers with less attack, and a little bit better charge bonus, but it's also, you know, quite a bit more cost. But again, in a straight-up missile fight with all that extra armor, that would make a big difference, and the extra health would make a big difference. So in a straight-up missile fight, head-to-head, well, these guys have better damage, too. Better missile damage. That's an interesting trade-off on these units. Very interesting indeed. Just noticed that. Anyway, that's why you always take a look at the game, I guess. Hope you all enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage, signing off for now.